Personally, I'm anti-jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, I'm anti-jiu-jitsu, man. It's for the cage, and it's for sport fighting, which is fine. It's for the cage, and it's useful in the cage. So when I say this, someone always goes, Royce Gracie, he won the first UFC. Yeah, it's because it's a fair fight. That's fine. I have never seen a fair fight in the street. Ever. And another rule of the street for me personally is never go to the ground. Because you don't know if you're going to get if you're on the ground, you can't see. You can get head stomped, you can get jumped on, his friends can attack you. The guy, you could be wrestling around with the dude, he pulls a knife. The police could roll up. Who knows what's going to happen? The last thing you want to be doing in a street fight is fucking around the ground trying to put some dude in a Kimura. It's bullshit. You're going to get hurt. You need to stay standing. So this is why I always recommend striking for street fights. I mean, I've been in a few street fights. Like everyone else, I try and avoid them. I've gone to some messed up places. I've dealt with a few idiots. Especially if you have a lot of chicks with you. A few times it's like me and like 5 chicks. And it's just because it's me on my own. Dudes start to think, well, he can't be banging them all. So I'm going to kind of encroach on his hose. And they're obviously mistaken because I am banging them. And I have to be like, yo, leave. And then because there's him with 4 of his boys, he can get fresh. And then it goes down, you know. So it's happened a few times, but there's some basic rules to it. Like, obviously, you want to try and avoid violence. But the reality is, man, everyone's heard it. It ain't fair out there. There's no such thing as a fair fight. Everyone's out to hurt you. My number one rule really with street fights is I don't let anyone get in my face ever. Because you can't see when they're that close. And you can't see their friends and you can't see what they have. So I say to people, stay away from me, stay away from me. If they come up, try and get in my face to carry on talking shit, I'll just hit them. That's my only basic rule. I'm just like, all right, stay away, stay. They start coming going, yo, bro, I'll just start smashing people in the mouth. Because I'm not having some dude in my face, screaming in my face, waiting for the fight to start. No, if you're going to get in my face, it's on.
Andrew Tate, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, very polarizing figure right now on the internets. A lot of what he says is very valuable, and I'm talking across all topics that he covers. There's a very good reason why the man is popular right now, and it's not because most of what he says is bullcrap, you know? He's popular because he appeals to a demographic that doesn't have a lot of people speaking out for him. You know, I'm not going to go too deep into that. I'm not the biggest fan of him because he does take it a little bit too far. But he's a very, very polarizing figure right now. Definitely polarizing figure. He's the kind of person that you have very strong feelings for. You either love the man or you absolutely despise him. That said, in this video, he touches on a subject that is very dear to my heart, and that is self-defense, specifically bringing in jiu-jitsu. And my initial response to this is not to take offense to it. It's like a lot of times people think when you say, oh, you know, jiu-jitsu is terrible for street fighting, you think that like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are going to take offense to that. But what you don't realize is this is a conversation we have amongst each other all the time, because we understand that jiu-jitsu is not flawless, just the same way no martial arts is flawless, especially when you talk about street fighting or a self-defense situation. Andrew made some very, very good points, you know, when he brings up a big reason why you don't want to go to the ground. You know, he talks about it's very difficult to see what's going on around you because you're on the ground. You can get stomped on the head. You could have a situation where the person has friends. They could have a weapon, you know. I mean, he literally brings up, you know, trying to go for, I believe he said a Kimura or an armbar. You try to go for a Kimura. Of course, you have control over an isolated limb, but they have the other limb available for them to pull a knife and stab you. These are all possibilities when you try to attack a submission, a jiu-jitsu style submission in a street fight. I think there's a deeper issue here, which is why I really wanted to talk about this, because I think it gets missed a lot when people have this conversation. The simple fact of the matter is, in a street fight situation, the best option for you is to just not get involved. Now, I understand this is something that you've all heard a million times, and at this point it's become cliche. It's become like, oh, that's just the honorable thing that every martial artist tries to say. Oh, don't get involved, just avoid it, run, avoid a fight. But there's a reason for why this is said. It's not just said because it sounds cool or because it sounds like, oh, I'm a disciplined martial art, so I'm just going to avoid fighting. There's a reason why martial artists tell you this, and it's not because they're afraid. A lot of martial artists are very confident people. They're very capable people, and they're people with a lot of pride as well. You think it feels good to run away from a fight that you know you would win in a one-on-one situation if you and the guy was locked in a cage? You think it feels good to like run away from a fight like that? It definitely doesn't feel good to run away from a fight. It makes you feel cowardly. It makes you feel like you're not brave. But at the end of the day, it is still a very intelligent thing to do. And the reason for that is because it is impossible to control for all the chaos that comes with a street fight. The biggest thing about martial arts is that it gives you abilities that allows you to control the chaos of a fight. The most effective martial arts out there are martial arts that control for the chaos of an actual fight. The best fighters in the world are fighters that are able to control the chaos of a fight. If you look at Floyd Mayweather in the boxing ring, the biggest thing he's doing, the thing that makes him a masterful boxer, is that he's controlling the chaos that boxing brings. His ability to reduce his opponent's output because they can't touch him. He's controlling the ring very well. He's deciding exactly how much work he's going to put out. He's deciding when and where to hit the opponent. Every single thing is very controlled. He's very calculated in there. That's what makes him an expert in his field. The same thing with a kickboxer, same thing with a wrestler. You get to the highest levels of your martial arts when you're able to take this thing that's fighting that is so chaotic and has so many variables that you can't control, and you figure out a way to really control it. You start playing a dilemma game where you give your opponent just two options, and whatever option they choose is terrible for them but very good for you. It's what Conor McGregor does very well. And so a big reason why you avoid street fighting is not because you're not capable, it's not because you don't have skills, it's because you just cannot control for the chaos that could happen in there. There could be multiple of them, and regardless of what skills you have, most martial arts are not designed to take on multiple opponents. It just isn't. Even if you're the absolute best at what you do, when you have 5 guys on you, even if they're untrained, it is very difficult to deal with that, especially when they're not coming at you one-on-one. It is not an easy thing to deal with. They could have weapons. They could have stabbing weapons. Worse, they could have projectile weapons. They could have a gun. Then what do? You know what I mean? Now what happens to all your martial arts skills? The person could be absolutely crazy. It could be the sort of person who's not going to be satisfied with just a fight, a fist fight. You could run into someone who has decided that that is the day that they're going to die, and they might as well take you with them. And you get into this thing that you think is going to be just a regular altercation where you're just going to put the guy in his place. You're just going to humble him a little bit. And this guy goes fucking crazy. He follows you home. He looks for you afterwards. Maybe if he has a gun, he fucking uses the gun on you in a tiny little altercation. I mean, look at what happened to Leandro Lo. Leandro Lo, who is one of the absolute best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the whole entire world. Another jiu-jitsu practitioner, an off-duty cop, a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, shot him in the head. This happened just a few days ago. You know? Leandro Lo, they got into a freaking scuffle. Leandro knocked him to the ground, mounted him, whatever. And the dude just couldn't take it. He just couldn't take the ass whooping. He couldn't take the L. And so he got up, pulled a gun, and shot Leandro Lo right in the head. Killed him instantly. The man was supposed to compete very recently. Died in his prime at like 33 years old. A staple in the jiu-jitsu community. Dead just like that. So when people say avoid street fighting, it's because of this. Because you cannot control for every possible situation, for the chaos that comes with it. You just can't. So that is always the number one option. And if you're someone that's trained in martial arts, I need you to remember this. Check your ego, man. We all know what would happen if we were to lock you and that guy that's bothering you. If we were to lock both of you in a room, we all know what's going to happen, bro. You don't have to prove it to anybody. You don't have to prove anything. You know, I know, we all know what would happen if that guy that's bothering you, if we locked both of you in a room, you would fuck him up. You don't have to prove that in the street, bro. Let it go. Someone cuts you off, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Keep going, bro. Don't get into a shouter match. Don't get into a pissing match. Let it go. It's not worth it. So that's one. That's the first step. Do whatever you can to avoid a fight. This is not you're not going to whatever martial arts that you're training so that you can go demonstrate your skills on the street. You're doing this as a worst case scenario. You've done everything in your power to avoid this fight. You cannot avoid it. It has become a literal self-defense scenario where if you don't do this, this is your life or the life of your family, your friends in danger. Now you got to do something. But it's not as a first response. It definitely isn't. So that's one. Now the second part about this video that we just watched. Is jiu-jitsu good for self-defense? I will tell you, no martial arts standalone is good for self-defense. Truly. If you want to train for self-defense, the best thing to do is going to be mixed martial arts. We can all agree to that. It's going to be mixed martial arts because you want to be able to fight standing. You want to know what to do if the fight happens to hit the ground. You want to know what to do if the fight happens in close quarters. Maybe there are walls around you and you have to pin this guy against the cage or something, not cage, against a wall or against a surface. You have experience with that. You want to have submissions under your belt. You want to have some wrestling. You want to know how to fight off your back if for some reason you end up on your back. You want to be able to kick. You want to be able to punch. You want to be well-rounded if what you're really trying to do is gain self-defense skills. But the big reason why people ask the question, what's the best martial arts for self-defense? People ask that question because there's this thing called time that we all don't have. If we could all live forever and we had an infinite amount of time, you would be stupid to not train mixed martial arts. It would make no sense. It would make no sense to just train one martial arts when you could train all of them. When you could train boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu, sambo if you have access to it. You would be stupid to not try to dabble in all of these and have some skills in all of them. The reason why people ask, what is the best martial arts for me to go to right now for self-defense is because of time. What people are really asking is, man, I don't have an infinite amount of time to go do MMA and learn everything. I have a small amount of time. For this little amount of time, whether it's once a week, for a couple hours, what is the best martial arts for me to put my time into that's going to help me in a street fight scenario? In a street fight scenario where it's one-on-one, me versus one guy. Because what generally happens when people say street fight, it turns into multiple opponents. Nah, man, we're not training here to fight multiple opponents. Nobody is. It's a one-on-one thing. What is the best martial arts for you to use if, let's say, if somehow you get into it with just one person in a one-on-one situation? What is the best martial arts? It is jiu-jitsu or some form of grappling. And the reason why that is because grappling arts reduces the chaos of a fight more than striking arts, 110%. You can control people on the feet if you are an elite striker. You absolutely can. But the truth is, so many things can go wrong on the feet when two people are swinging arms, kicking, just throwing wildly. So many things can go wrong. There's too much goddamn kinetic energy. There's too much. There's too much explosiveness. There's just too much of that. Grappling arts takes the person, puts them on the ground. When you take a human being and you put the human being on the ground, their ability to be explosive reduces drastically. Drastically. And the grave nature of not knowing what to do when you're on the ground, it is so much more potent than not knowing what to do on the feet. Because when you're on the ground, because on the feet, you could maybe get lucky. You could close your eyes and wing and maybe clip them somehow. On the ground, there is no luck, man. If you've never grappled and I take you down and I put you on your back and it's just you and I don't think you understand how royally fucked you are. And I am just a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. There's just literally nothing you would be able to do. You just be fucked completely. On the feet, I have some Muay Thai training. You might have a chance if you're big, if you're fast, if you're powerful, if you're explosive, if you're an athletic person. Shit. You might freaking throw a shot with such speed that I'm not going to be able to anticipate it, and boom, I get slept. It's possible. But once I drag your ass to the ground, it's just, there's nothing you can do. So that is why grappling arts are just better if you don't have the time to train everything. If you have the time, definitely put the time in to learn how to strike a little bit. I would say put most of your time into learning how to grapple, but you definitely got to have some striking, for sure. For sure. Boxing, Muay Thai, these two is, my go-tos, what I would say. But besides that, if we're talking about you don't have the time, I would definitely focus on grappling arts. Andrew Tate was saying, one of my rules is never go to the ground. I mean, you might not have a choice. You might not have a choice. Because what we see in a lot of these street fights is, they end on the ground whether you want them or not. Just, bodies collide, You go to punch and boom, you guys end up in the clinch. One thing leads to another. Boom, you guys are on the ground. Now what? You better know what to do once it's there. So that's really my thought on it. I don't want to spend too much time rambling. This is a topic that we can sit on for a really, really long time just talking about it. I didn't listen to what Andrew said and got butthurt. He had very good points to make. You definitely do not want to use jiu-jitsu in this street where there's a possibility of multiple attackers. No, you don't want to do that. And that's not what they teach you at jiu-jitsu either. Trust me. We don't go to class and learn, oh, you're in a potential street fight, pull guard. Like, bro, this is not what we learn. It's a huge misconception. Like, we do learn takedowns. We learn all of that. We train to mostly be on top. You play bottom against other people that know jiu-jitsu in a competition. In a street fight, you're not looking to pull guard and go for triangles from the bottom or go for leg locks from the bottom. We ain't doing that. I'm looking to take your ass down, pass your guard, mount you, and rain down blows. That's what we're learning to do. There's a whole self-defense aspect to jiu-jitsu that doesn't really get talked about often, just because it's like it's cooler to make fun of grappling. All they do is just they butt scoot and pull guards. Like, make no mistake, man. You get into a one-on-one with someone that's trained in jiu-jitsu for a really long time, they will take your ass down. Trust me, they will take you down. They're gonna mount you, and you're gonna be freaking stuck. But yeah, Andrew Tate. We're not gonna talk about this for too much longer. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about it. What are you training right now? If you have time, are you doing MMA? Are you doing some striking and some grappling as well? And if not, what are you focusing your attention on? Let me know in the comment section, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night.